just popped up on mine.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody needs that.
You good? All right, we're back. We apologize. Apparently, Facebook did not like our noob of the week, which is quite all right because we have other platforms that we're still streaming live on, fortunately.
As long as they still heard it.
And it still remains true. You can get these hands if you want to test them.
Rated E for everybody, my dude.
So next up, I think we have a trailer. If I'm correct? So Don, which trailer do we got? All right, bet. So we got Top Gun, which is basically Maverick, right? Yes. All right, dope. So we're gonna play this Maverick trailer for y'all, and then we're gonna figure out what happened to our last feed while you watch and enjoy this. Don.
Your instructor is one of the finest pilots this program has ever produced. His exploits are legendary. What he has to teach you may very well mean the difference between life and death.
Your reputation precedes you.
I have to admit, I wasn't expecting an invitation back.
They're called orders, Maverick.
This is your captain speaking. Today's exercise is dogfighting.
2 versus 1? He's got to be kidding. What the hell?
Hey, what it do, y'all? We're back. So we're trying to figure out, why Facebook is hating on us. But things happen. But we have a super dope guest here. We have the opportunity to introduce one of our brethren in this geek community. As a matter of fact, if you could, Tom, could you introduce yourself to our fans?
Good evening, folks. Name's Tom DELPHI, Executive Director of the NERDTINO community and the NERDTINO EXPO, Philadelphia's first annual Latinx comic book convention dedicated to promoting the history and presence of Latin Americans in pop culture. From comic books and science fiction, fantasy and horror, all that good stuff.
Tom, did you practice that before you came over here?
No.
That was pretty rare.
No, this is my first time on the show, but to clarify, you're dealing with a professional.
Oh, well, all right. Well, Lottie mother da. Well, tell us about. Now that's an interesting name, NERDTINO. What did that? How was that born? How did that come to fruition?
Well, there's a larger origin story, if you like.
Well, by all means, this is your time, brother.
All right. So, for reference, NERDTINO exists both as an event and a community. Mm-hmm. We started as a social media space in 2016, and then when we realized we had traction and an actual community and an actual audience and an actual need for this, we decided to move forward with producing a convention. But it actually started with me being a nitpicky nerd I come from,
As we all are, yeah.
yeah, I come from a heritage of geeks. My parents raised me right on X-Men, X-Files, Hercules: The Legendary Journey.
One of my favorites.
Like,
Yeah, I definitely binged that.
the thing I am eternally grateful to them for is that they were convention nerds that never went to conventions. Like, they
So what did y'all
Proto-
cosplay in the house?
no. They just went to the series finale of MASH to a bar dressed up as characters.
Okay, so y'all was cosplaying at bars. All right.
But this was before costuming or cosplay was really a cultural concept, right? So these were proto nerds that didn't really fall into the convention space that we all do now.
Wait, hold on. Proto nerds. So they were like, they were basically the prototype to this thing.
Exactly. There's an evolutionary chain here.
I'm about to say, because if you say I cosplay MASH, I'm like, wow.
But so they always encouraged me to engage in my hobbies,
Right.
and I have a background as a historian and a museum professional.
Okay.
So I kind of intersect with studying history and then studying its cultural importance of communities. And Lord of the Rings fans, raise your hands. All right, trivia time. What does Gandalf smoke?
Hopefully some of that, not that Reggie. That's what I was about to say.
All right,
That good.
but no, seriously, what does he smoke? Hobbit's weed, right? That's what Tolkien actually calls it in the book.
I was gonna say it's weed. Right?
He smokes, yeah. But specifically,
So
it's
is
a
he
weed.
really a wizard or just really high?
So
Listen.
much more than just a wizard.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Well, don't come for Gandalf. I was gonna say don't come for Gandalf like that.
Well, so it's called Hobbit's weed in the books, right? And he smokes out of a tobacco pipe. Where's tobacco come from? New World. Where does tobacco pipes come from? Indigenous communities in Latin America and North America. We get the word Zikar from Shikar.
Okay,
Right?
all right.
Where are Latin Americans in Lord of the Rings?
Hold on, wait.
We get.
That's like saying where are the black people in Lord of the Rings?
But you know what? They even.
Where?
There is a. But
Where's
he
the
even
black
talk-
people?
No. Here's the.
The orcs?
No.
Humble Easterling is black. Like the black Humble Easterling is black.
Yeah, that's something they explore like in the Silmarillion. They don't really get into it in the.
The what?
Right. But even Tolkien.
What religion is that?
The Silmarillion. It's like
Well, it is a Bible. It is a Bible.
The Cimmerillions.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the prequel to Lord of the Rings.
Are they
Isn't that
like
somewhere in
it's the
Italy?
extended-
Are they like Catholics? No.
Baby, I love
Stop.
you.
No.
Remember when I said you were fired?
Got you.
All right.
All right, so go ahead.
So Tolkien gives most old world cultures a touch. Not always a good one, or not always well written, not always culturally knowledgeable, but he gives them a touch. The entirety of the Western Hemisphere and indigenous peoples and Latin Americans have no presence. We get a one-shot cameo in the final battle at Isengard with these Maori Aztec mashed up characters that what?
They were Moonlight Riders.
Right.
And they were heroic.
Right. But yeah.
He said, but I get what Tom's saying. He's like, you have all these elements of our culture, but we're not
Where
there.
are we?
But we're not there.
Right.
And being a niggling, like quibbling nerd, it bothered me.
I'm about to be like, oh, buddy. I'm about to say being a nigga. I was like, I'm my man Tom. No, I'm sorry. I thought we was going to be bonding.
Now, it just bothered me because here is this massive piece of nerd culture, this massive cornerstone of fantasy culture, and they took something that is inherently ours and gave it to the Irish analog in Tolkien's fantasy.
So you saying white people in? That's what, bro? That's what they do.
I got you. But, and it it struck me in
Can
a
I
way.
stop for just a second? First of all, your shirt is giving me life. Number one. Number two, do the eyes glow? Like, am I?
Oh no,
hot?
they're rubies.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's on the back too.
I catch him and I'm like,
Oh, and the buttons have little skulls in them.
I noticed. I noticed.
We just deviated from
Well,
nerd
first
culture.
of all-
She deviated from the nerd culture to talk fashion, which is a dope show. Sure, I'm not
Excuse you.
So
I am 50%. I am 30% geek, 30% fashion,
Okay,
30% criminal mastermind. But anyways,
Saying, it's like,
He's not 10%
no, I
mathematician.
got someone. I got someone on my team named that.
But
But
he's missing 10 somewhere in there. But
What was that last 10?
I know I got a high school diploma, but that don't add up. So
But-
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So now, was it your angst in that one particular fandom, or nerd culture as a whole?
it was not born from angst.
Got you.
It was born from curiosity.
Okay.
Because
I can respect
Tolkien
that.
fell off there, but I want to know what was actually out there. So I did what I do whenever I'm upset. I researched. I started digging, and I found out so much of this depth of creators that are out there, not just now and presently in the recent wave and push for more diverse literature, but that have been around since the beginning, and that branched out. Okay, well, what about comics? What about television? What about animation? What about Star Wars? What about everything? And when you look at the summation of geek culture's history, Latin Americans have built a quarter of it, either as original creators or specific contributors to major projects. Not just as actors or performers, but direct creators and people who were sticking their neck out there way back before it was safe to be accommodated to do so.
So you're saying like illustrators and writers?
Illustrators, writers, people who got involved in projects as producers. Where do we get the American adaptation of Power Rangers from the original Super Sentai? Tony Oliver, and I can't remember, I think it's Jaime Saban. Tony Oliver, Rafael Antonio Oliver, Puerto Rican, who animated every Peanuts cartoon at the direction and specific request of Charles Schultz. Bill Melendez, Mexican animator.
I feel like I'm watching Jeopardy. I don't know none of these answers.
This is what I do.
I'm that boy that be like, I'm just gonna leave.
Sitting there with his hands like out.
I got nothing.
But that's just it.
Right,
There's all
exactly.
this
That's the
history
point.
that's been there.
Right.
And you know what I've always felt is that when you talk about when we talked about Latin Americans and geek culture, and you know again the recent conversations about making the industry and the spaces much more diverse, the conversation is as, oh well, welcome, you guys are new, and it's like,
It's like, no,
no.
we've been here.
right.
We've been here. We've not been here just, you know, when these conventions started. We've been here for decades. We've been here since the 19th century. One of the first steampunk adaptations in the 1890s was by a Cuban. Yes, he was lifting most of his stuff from H.G. Wells, but it counts.
And guess what? Those my peoples. I ain't mad at him.
You know,
Now, it's funny that you said that because one of the first people the first person I ever cosplayed in my entire existence was Bane. Now, here's
I got a Bane. I got a Bane story.
Now, this is what's interesting because most people don't realize that Bane is from Latin America.
Caribbean.
And it blows my mind because it wasn't until a very good friend of mine said to me, and he said, bro, nowhere in modern culture except for the cartoon once did they ever represent Bane with his Latin background and had him speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, who played him? I forget what's the white dude? Tom Hardy. Thank you. Appreciate the peanut gallery in the back. Yeah. Tom Hardy, and then he was some weirdo in Batman and Robin
A wrestler.
who grunted and made a bunch of noise.
Yeah.
Even in the original Batman animated series, he didn't have an accent. It wasn't like.
Actually, in Harley Quinn, he sounds like Tom Hardy.
Stop playing.
In the new Harley Quinn?
He sounds like Tom Hardy. And you
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
But they never give him credit because he was one of the smartest Batman villains and beat Batman. Let's not get it twisted. He beat Batman.
Yeah.
But things like that, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, recognizing that history, but the characters as well as the creators, you know, and immersing more within that, the writing, the literature, and, you know, getting people to realize you don't have to feel like a newcomer. It's okay. Your ancestors built part of this. You know, you have predecessors that were making these things that everybody loves. You don't have to feel alone and weird in this space or feel like you need to blend into any one group or any other group, you know? And so with that mindset, I started reaching out, you know, focusing on finding comic creators, finding cosplayers, finding community organizers. You know, in the last specifically 2 years, I've been able to build a fantastic core team. That everybody's in the wind right now, you know, it's a holiday season.
Yeah, no, I
you know?
totally understand that.
But
I don't even know why we're here.
it's because I'm here.
That's a doggone good reason.
It is. Now, and, you know, from there, we built out this community that stretches from the East Coast out west, built out relationships with other Latin American conventions that, you know, we've got Latino Comics Expo in Long Beach, California. We got Texas Latino Comic-Con. We got Indigenous Comic-Con.
I had no clue that these even existed.
Exactly. Do you know
I know about the Latino Expo.
Yes.
That I've heard of.
This is that's one of our Theos runs that. But
wait, one of you what?
Theos.
Uncles.
Look, Negro. He ain't saying it in the Ebonics. I don't know what that means. But I'm asking these questions.
Just speaking Spanish.
You know.
So,
I'm joking, but go ahead.
Javier isn't actually my Theo, but they're cousin organizations. And
It's like play cousin. We know. Look, black folks know. Trust me. We know about adopting some family.
But, you know, we built out a community out into the Caribbean, into Mexico and South America, you know, and it's just been about building a space that people can come to that can learn about both their heritage and engage in their hobbies and engage in their passions, you know, and like be able to go to a convention and feel that this is their space.
Gotcha.
You know? And we've been around as a community the last 4 years, as an event 3. Our last show was just this past November.
Right.
Yeah, we're already looking at 2020.
Well, so now, is there any plans for expansion?
There's dreams.
But you need the support.
I need the support, and one of the things that we try to do is that we try to reach into communities where there's new Latin populations coming in and whatnot. So, you know, I'd like to eventually expand out to the Gulf Coast, but that's a dream.
All right. Well, listen, because one of the things the reason why it's important because a lot of people make differentiations between Black, Hispanic, Asian. Honestly, I kind of put everybody not in the same class, but I try to show everybody the same level of respect. Me personally, and it's if I have a plight with how African Americans are underrepresented in the culture, then I can't be the only one dealing with that in my culture. And hearing you talk about it in your culture, then it only makes sense that just because it's called NERDTINO doesn't mean it shouldn't be supported by African Americans. Like that's what kills me about things, because for a lot of people that are a part of the geek culture, if it's not them, if it's not your nerddom, or if it's not your culture or something, it's like, I'm not going to go. Right. But you won't get more of these things if it doesn't get the support. You know what I mean? It's like my brother's fight is my fight. So for a lot of, I know we've had plenty of African American content creators and convention owners on the show. On the same note, I thought it was really, really important to have you come through, just because you represent an underrepresented demographic that isn't necessarily personally my own, but we fight the same fight, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, your cousins.
Because don't get me started, because I still feel like if you Puerto Rican, Mexican, all of that, we all still come from the same.
Listen, everybody got a little black in them, so.
Don't get me started.
You know, and like one of the things that we do with NERDTINO is that we focus on, and we have this as the core of our mission, We are specific to the Latinx, Latino, Latina community, Hispanic, Chicano, Indigenous, Afro-Latinx, Afro-Caribbean. We do use the term Latinx. However, I make it a point to not impress it upon anyone that doesn't want to use it. Because, and I know that's a big debate.
I was going to ask, but I was like, no, I'm going to let Tom.
Oh, you want to do this?
No, because we.
Okay, good, because I've got an essay here. All right. It's me. I'm the essay. So we do use that.
Pretty clever. I don't know. I got to revisit that. I'm an essay. All right, this guy. I like it.
Completely off the cuff.
Well, go ahead. No,
like I said, professional. So, but yeah. So we try to be inclusive towards that community,
right?
And it's just recognizing that different Latin America, and mind you, Latin Americans identify in different ways. Mm-hmm. I'm Puerto Rican.
Right.
I identify primarily as indigenous. Mm-hmm. I recognize the intersection of communities of cultures that contribute to what I am. Mm-hmm. I primarily identify as indigenous because I have the strongest connection to that. My great-grandfather actually spoke little bits and pieces of Taino Arawakan, which is the indigenous language. Yeah. And you still find a few of us that remember stuff like that. And I can only translate Spanish in my head.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah.
But, and then...
Do y'all catch flack for not being called NERDTINX?
I thought about...
That would be the most specific hate.
But here's what I did.
Okay.
But here's what I did.
It's a legit question, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, honestly.
Okay. So I came up... I was workshopping with a buddy, and we came up with the idea of the name. We also used the alternative term Geek Hispanic, which, oh my God, if I just used that...
Did you say Geek Hispanic?
Oh my God, if I just used Geek Hispanic, this wouldn't be a problem.
No, it would definitely, you won't have any problem
with
that.
God.
Now, I don't know if anybody would actually...
I like NERDTINO.
Hispanic
isn't like...
No, it's not as catchy as NERDTINO.
Yeah.
It's definitely like it rolls off the tongue better.
So I ended up coming up with NERDTINO before I discovered Latinx. And then I found it, and I was like, well, the logo's already made. But here's what we did.
Listen,
here's what we did.
That ain't the truth.
The O in NERDTINO is not actually an O.
What is it?
It's the Taino sun symbol.
All right, so it works.
So technically, we are NERDTINO sun.
Wow.
And full of
But actually, one of the designs I wanted to do originally with the logo was to have kind of like a Spanish wheel that had like an X going through the O.
Oh, dope. All right, so now, you see, you're a thinker. I like that.
Yeah. And then we actually have a partnership with one of our cousins, Five Meats. They're based out Texas.
You're terrible.
Southwest.
You're terrible. That was so childish, and I laughed because I'm glad you laughed because I didn't have to laugh. Five Meats. She's a weirdo.
Oh
Don't mind.
Right.
This is not this is not highbrow comedy over here at all. We both were giggling. I like Lex when she's on the show. But go ahead. Go ahead. What are your
But
feelings?
we actually have like a relationship.
Children.
I'm sorry.
But we actually have a partnership with associates of ours, Five Meats Comics. They produce the Latinx Men shirts, which I love. They're these black and purple. It's in the X-Men font.
That joke's dope.
Yeah, but we actually get that for them, so we kind of get the Latinx representation in that way.
Gotcha.
Right. We distribute for them for shows that we go to and whatnot. We have a whole deal. It's fantastic. Love you guys. But yeah,
That was a dope. That was a quick shout out too. He was like,
but
yo, facts.
oh, yeah, right. You should have come.
Wait. Hold on. We got new. Wait. Do we have breaking news? What happened?
Tekashi 6ix9ine sentenced to 2 years in prison.
Oh yeah, it was already today.
Get out of here. So I guess he didn't. Charlamagne won't have to suck his dick. No, I'm dead serious. I'm not even being nasty. Charlamagne on the Breakfast Club said if Tekashi got off, he would suck his dick. I'm not saying that it's appropriate. I'm giving you the news.
I'm not saying it's appropriate, but
I feel like
if Charlamagne wants to do that, that's his business.
It don't matter. He don't got to anymore.
But here you go. Breaking news. Tekashi going to jail. Surprise, surprise. Please continue.
Man, now he's not going to get a chance to play Joker again. But no, like, Identity does play identity does play a significant role in the community because you have people, that are a part of us that, we have folks that are, Spanish first language. We have folks that identify as indigenous, folks that identify as Afro-Latin, Afro-Caribbean, and it's, people, whenever they ask me about it, they make it sound like it's a complicated thing trying to have a community and build content for it, but it's like, no, it just gives me a better tool chest to play with, and every year we manage to pull in, guests that I just love to be able to work with. One of our
which one is your favorite one to date? I don't want to put you on the spot like that. But name me some of your favorite ones to date.
I have to work with them, so I can't do that. No,
understood.
But I love all of my guest children. But no,
he hit me with the parent joint. I love all of them equally. No, you don't.
Oh yeah,
that youngest child is always the worst. Always.
Where's the favorite?
Excuse you, youngest child.
See?
Same.
Exactly. That's why.
Good point.
Firstborns. Firstborns all day. Give me the money.
I'd say
But-
favoritism. I'm sweet.
You're fun size.
I tell my mom all the time that I know I'm her favorite child because I'm the least trouble out of the three of us.
Yeah.
See, that's what it is for me.
Because we get the most beatings. Firstborns are always getting the most beatings, and the youngest never do.
That's not true.
That's in every
I got
culture.
my
Whatever.
fair share.
No.
I'm a baby. I got my fair share beaten.
I don't care. Listen, whether you get a flip flop thrown at you or the switch off the tree, I can guarantee you the oldest one caught most of the abuse.
Okay, I gotta stop you real quick because I heard you say switch off the tree, and I was like, why are they turning off the Christmas lights?
Yo, stop. My grandfather once told me to go get the switch off the tree. He was like, the lights off the. I don't want to take the lights off the bush, Papa.
He was gonna take the black off your behind. That's
He once beat me with a stencil.
a stencil.
One of those plastic stencils. Yes.
I'm almost positive it was abuse, but we didn't notice that back then. Yo, there's definitely.
There's no more psychological torture.
No.
Wait, can
We in no way at the Head Nurse in Charge advocate child abuse.
Wait, can I just rap for a minute? There is no worse psychological torture than picking your own switch that you're gonna get beat.
But that's all cultures.
Wait. I'm gonna say no. The worst kind is the one that you're waiting for, like the one that when we get home.
No, that's psychological torture.
Listen.
Because then when you get home, it's not right away.
It's bad when you can say the two
you get
languages.
home and nothing's happening. You ain't had dinner. You don't watch your favorite show. You ain't took your bath.
Yeah,
You done gotten to bed.
When it's not even the same day. When you gotta wait like a week for it, you're just in there like
You rocking back and forth every day.
Right.
Listen, hold on. Before y'all go through all your psychological traumas, I apologize.
Listen.
They got
Y'all are
triggered. It was
talking.
my mama beat me.
Y'all talking about.
Mama to beat me.
Y'all talking about getting like beaten up with like markers and crayons and stuff like that. See, my family has a superpower. We can make you cry without raising our voice.
Oh no.
This one, no. We won't raise our voice. This one time, we were at this resort on the island, and it was this big fancy resort, and they ended up messing up our room situation. And my dad, who has a hard time controlling his superpower, right? He's sitting there, and there was this woman working at the registration, and she had this little TV in the back, and she's paying more attention to that. And he's trying to say, "Hey, where's my son supposed to sleep?" And we don't know what he said, but the next thing we find out is we get a rollaway bed, and she's sitting in the corner crying. Never raised his voice, and apparently he turns around and says, "I don't know what I said."
That's what I'd be like. Oh, you know.
He met Chuck Norris and lived.
I'm
not kidding.
Chuck. Now, if your dad is better than Chuck Norris, then
he's taller than him.
I don't want no problems. Now, let me ask you. So, NERDTINO 2020. Do we have a date?
We don't have a date yet.
Okay.
We're kicking that around, right? We're still mulling everything over. We've had Oh, forgot to bring up the actual guests we've had.
Oh, all right.
You know, one of our regular guests that we've brought in, Edgardo Miranda Rodriguez, creator of La Borinqueña. He works with both John Leguizamo and has worked with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Which, by the way, In the Heights. Has anyone seen that trailer?
Yes, I have.
I had no idea what it was until I found it, but I am so here for it.
I have no clue what it is.
It's Lin-Manuel's actual award-winning work before Hamilton.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, dude. I like that dude.
It's like.
He's Hispanic?
Are you serious?
Give me your crown.
Look, I'm the king of the Negroes. I know what? I know all the black people.
You are fired.
No, I'm not.
Fired.
Like, are you serious?
I am king of the Negroes. See, he got his own crown. It's cool. But no, all right. So
yeah,
John Leguizamo's coming.
Well, yeah. He actually Edgardo's actually working with John right now on Phenom X. It's a project Mr. Leguizamo's working on. We've had Christina V, voice actress for Ladybug from Miraculous.
Dope.
She is so awesome to work with. I know she's so great. And she's like the biggest nerd. It's awesome.
That's always the best when you're like your celebrities. You be like, oh, but do you know about this? And they can break it down right there with you. Like, well played, sir. Well played.
Also, any Mortal Kombat fans, we had Master Daniel Pacina, the original Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat, the original capture model for that. By the way, I love this history. 3 Latin Americans built Mortal Kombat. It was Daniel Pacina, it was John Tobias, and it was Carlos Pacina. And then there was Ed Boon.
To those 3, gracias. What? I wanted to thank them.
The way you said it. Like,
Well, I said it properly. I can speak Spanish, actually. Now, hater. Cállate, estúpido. That's more local.
first of all, don't think you about to pop off at the mouth, fam, because you know I speak Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
Man, you're not making it out of the studio live, dude.
First of all,
I was dead from the rip anyway.
you get on my
But
Listen, let me ask you a question, Tom. Have you seen Watchmen at all yet?
I have not.
But are you familiar with the works?
I am familiar with
are
Alan
you
Moore's
okay with
graphic
us
novel.
spoiling the show for you?
I am chill because I'm so behind on everything.
All right, because what we're about to do is we're about to actually get into Watchmen real heavy. But before we do, I want to make sure. Hold on, I want to make sure that everybody knows number one where they can find NERDTINO on social media platforms and what's coming up next for you guys. So if you could just let everybody know.
So you can learn more about NERDTINO, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at nerdtino.com. We are primarily active on Facebook as a community. Now, I did want to say that one of the things that I am looking for in the next year, and I've already got some fantastic folks that are coming in to work with us. I'm looking for an actual crew, because a lot of it has been me running around underneath the ship making sure it doesn't explode.
I know that.
So if you are out there, if you are interested in what we're doing with NERDTINO, if you would like to help me conquer Philadelphia's geek scene, actually, can we edit out that last part?
I was about to say,
whoa,
that was on some. That was ballsy. I kind of wrestled up on that. I was like, hold on, nigga, this is my show. No. Shoot, listen, I'm a firm believer in everybody has to have that kind of mindset, because at the end of the day, if you want representation, if you really want representation, you got to be the one to go put it out there. That's the reason why we started this show. That's why I can respect what you're doing. So by all means, shoot your shot.
Yeah. I actually prefer the term reflection.
Okay.
Because you send a representative to somewhere where you're not. Reflection shows the reality.
So you want more reflection in media.
Exactly. Show where we've been and where we are now.
Okay.
And where we're going. You know, I was reading just about this article that Latin Americans are now going to become the largest minority in the United States come 2020, 2021. Thanks. You know, we have some of the most significant buying power, not only in North America, but basically the Western Hemisphere. There are 3 major centers for gaming commerce in the world. East Asia, North America, South America. We beat out Europe and like the rest of Asia.
I had no clue.
Yeah. That's why you're seeing significant game development in Central America and Northern and South America. We have a community. We have an history. We've built this. Let's act on it and show it off. So if you're interested, if you're looking to crew up, find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, NERDTINOEXPO@gmail.com. And
Are you NERDTINO or NERDTINO Expo on Instagram?
NERDTINO, well, we are NERDTINO on Instagram. At NERDTINO, yes.
Well, that's dope. Hey, listen, y'all definitely make sure you go check out not only NERDTINO, but follow up and make sure you support independent conventions. I cannot stress that enough, that no matter what, it's all the same family unit. We all have our fandoms. We all have what we like. It is imperative that you support it, because if you don't, you won't have it.
That's how it dies.
It's exactly how it dies. And it takes the community as a whole to build something. And it means sometimes you got to go support something that you might not particularly have interest in. But if you go, you'd be surprised what you might learn. That's the best part about it. So we got another trailer coming up. It's Superman Red Son. Wait. Is that the joint where he was in with the Russia? Yeah. I think that was. So what are they doing? Like, is it animated, John?
Yeah.
All right. I haven't seen the trailer, but I've seen some pictures from it. Now, we're getting ready to play that trailer. Don, you got to boot it up? Yeah. We good to go? Yeah. Are you going to stick around for the Watchmen conversation? I might. All right. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to vomit to the bathroom.
You got to make it to the door. I heard you talking smack this whole time.
I'm about to say, all this water before Tef beat me up, because now she's here. And we're going to play the Red Sun. When we're going to come back, we're going to get into Watchmen, and a lot of things happened in that entire season.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's yeah.
A lot of feelings.
Yo, if you
all right, Don, play us out. I'm gonna try to.
Look, up in the sky!
Get the best you've got.
Extraordinary reports coming out of the Soviet Union. Tales of a being with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men.
As I said, Mr. President, of course I understand your concern, but I assure you the Luthor Company has this under control.
I don't blame those among you that fear me, for you've been taught to fear all your lives.
This is a world where the strong rule. And you are the strongest of all of us.
It is only a matter of time, very little time, until all of Western Europe is absorbed, is taken by the Soviet Superman.
Look alive, Lanterns. We've got incoming.
I'm honored to have you here, Ambassador.
Call me Diana. And what shall I call you?
Superman. You think you're going to stop me, Batman?
What now?
Now I save the world.
You know what? Maybe he's right. Oh, we back already? Hey, how is everybody? How are we doing?
Wait, are we back?
Yeah, we already look. Tef got chips in her mouth. Look, Tef got chips in her mouth and enjoying. She's already look. Tom's getting ready to get up out of here. We're saying goodbye to NERDTINO because we're about to get in the Watchmen and he doesn't want us to have it ruined. Look, Alexa's trying to slide in here on the low fun size. Tried to get in on here to sneak. Everybody's got all kinds of vittles. And I'm super salty because I was tired. I tried to run back here. You ain't never lied. Child. Listen, I had to go.
That's the best meal ever.
All right, so here we go.
Are you
We're
gonna
getting ready.
sit? Like, what is this?
Listen, mind your business because I want to set it up. Exactly. As I look down upon my.
You know, with Shadow, he casting it from that belly.
Oh, listen. Oh, if I put it on your lip, don't say nothing. Ha! I'm sorry. Anywho.
I'm too young for this conversation.
I apologize for our younger viewers who might have. So, Zeke, stupid. Watchmen. Well, okay. Why is that your initial reaction? Let's start at episode 1.
Just the way it started, man.
The
Like
first 5 seconds just like destroyed me. Warning.
Warm what? Go.
Spoilers ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh, please, yeah. Oh, you know what? And I apologize because that is definitely nerd precedence. Yeah, we almost dropped the ball on this one, folks. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. We are not pulling any punches. We gave you 3 days after the season finale to basically catch up. A lot of us binged it over the weekend.
True says 3 days.
And I'm just gonna whew. Watchmen opens up Tulsa, Oklahoma. How did
had
you
a flashback just then?
How did you feel after episode 1? How'd you feel?
I felt, dang it, it almost felt like it. I felt it was almost like you could feel the hurt of everything that was of the people that was going through everything that was happening there. Like in one scene, the guy is like one of the white dudes is running into this store and he's wearing some of the clothes out of this one store and just dancing around and frolicking. And then another scene, a woman is getting shot I guess she was trying to protect her child or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was so like gut wrenching. Like this somebody took
So
the
it was
camera.
weird because it starts off in the theater with one of the characters watching a movie,
a silent
film where there's a black hero. Mm-hmm. So and his mom is there playing the piano, and you're just like, and it's kind of like fast paced. It's like the climax of this movie, and then you're just like, so it's like. It's kind of that slow build of tension, and then it's like a gunshot. The rest of it just takes off. Like the rest of like that sequence just takes off from there.
It's funny because I knew during those times during silent movies they would have a piano player in there playing the music. Right. So while the music was playing, I was like, oh, I bet you there's somebody on the piano. Not realizing that it was his mom, and
he was the only person in that theater.
Facts. So when his father burst through the door, I thought it was just a soldier because I wasn't sure what was going on.
War or something.
And I was like, oh, don't kill the baby.
You hear things outside the theater, and you're just like, all right, something's happening, but this kid is.
That's what I'm saying. It was that build up of tension where all this music, and then you slowly start hearing all this noise and all this.
And the
commotion.
Mom is crying.
And
Like
while she's
crying. That was the part where you knew something ain't right. Now, let's fast forward to just once they pick up the baby and they walk outside, and Roxy alluded to certain scenes. I thought that was deep. Have you ever seen Rosewood?
Yes.
One of the
not in a long.
It might be a long time. I have a hard time with.
It's a hard watch though.
Yeah, right. And that's. I'm glad you described it as that because Rosewood is definitely a hard watch because it's one thing to see atrocities, but it's another thing to see people enjoying themselves during the atrocity. You get what I mean? Whenever you see soldiers taking advantage of a woman and then you see them laughing while they drag her into a tent, or whenever you like in during Rosewood, they were laughing and joking as they burned and killed people. And these are actual things. This is why Watchmen.
Like they used to have picnics and it used to be like a community.
The term picnic comes from pick a nigga. That is when we say we're going to a pic. And I don't think people. And it's funny how
People
words
don't
and
realize that anymore because it's become such an integrated part of the community. Nobody says, "Oh, I'm gonna go pick a nigga." It's I'm going
Facts.
to go have a
So-
picnic. Oh, same here.
Picnic.
My grandmother.
And you know what? Sometimes you need the older. You need the old. You need not the old. You need that history to understand.
You need the older generation to tell you where certain words came from.
Right. Because one. I mean, the way it opened up, the way that they were shooting men, women, and children.
They pulled a woman out of her shop to shoot her in the head.
And had a dude on fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And did y'all notice? And I watched it. I watched the entire season twice. Don't ask me how. But on my second watch of the first episode, I didn't realize. Remember when they showed that scene of the little boy in the streets? Did y'all realize he was holding a dead infant?
Yes.
No.
I thought it was a doll baby the first time around. He was holding a dead infant.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's all of this is to illustrate the horrific.
Gave no fucks if it was a woman, a child, a man, a baby.
Facts.
If you were black, you were considered dead. That's it. Your fate was sealed the moment you were born.
Now, and mind you, I didn't watch this until the season ended. So that's why we haven't covered it. I wanted to cover it in totality because I'm not a watch it as it goes guy. I love Netflix has spoiled me. I like to binge watch. So I'll wait for it to end or when the season finale comes up and then I'll watch all of it at once. Well, this one I wish I hadn't of because that episode, that first episode,
taking that all in at once.
we needed to have that conversation on this show from the jump.
And wait, can I just say, I came into it, y'all niggas was already 2 episodes in.
At least.
And I was like, wait, no, I didn't want to watch it yet. And y'all were like, so this is happening. Just sit down.
You're
gonna be all right.
We were like halfway through the season when you got there.
Yeah.
No, y'all were like on episode 3.
Yeah, we were trying to we were getting together as a group to watch it so that we could be prepared to talk about it and really because it's been time for us to catch up on it.
So I'd already seen half the season. I mean, I had to go back and watch episode 1 and 2. And I was equally as like
just as upset.
I was more horrified having already seen what was going on. So to like circle back around because the little boy character, you know, we get to see him later as an adult. He's the main character, Angela's grandfather. So to see like
Will Reeves.
So to see like his experiences and like see how they actually like where they drug the 2 black people behind the car, that memory is mixed into his later memory.
Right, because
that's one of the things that like I see when I close my eyes, because that was a very prevalent. It was something that I went to an all-black middle school, so growing up and I was learning this history, and it was just like that's something that happened so much. That probably hurt me the most, like seeing that happen. It just kept happening. Like you said, it was ingrained in his later memories. Like, he would go through life and still see that.
But you remember what she said. She said the reason why they got rid of nostalgia from the rip was people weren't using the past memories to move forward and better themselves. They just kept reliving their trauma. So, of course, that's all Will Reeves did throughout the entire series was relive each and every one of the traumas and atrocities and the wrongs that were done to him. That's what basically built him up to become the Hooded Justice. Hooded Justice. Thank you. Now, we don't have to go episode by episode because we can talk around this as it goes. I mean, I felt like that starting off at episode 1 and talking about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Black Wall Street. Yeah, and the fact that they just recently, big ups to Smoke who sent me the article today. They just found a mass grave in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where now they might be able to identify more of the lineage and family lines of people who actually died in the actual right. So, but now lineage and history and family played a very large role in Watchmen.
The legacy.
Legacy. is very important to you people. and I thought that was interesting because how do y'all feel about the play on words with reparations? Because that was basically reparations.
Right. Mm-hmm. But it was only for that specific group of people from that town.
Whose family was involved in the Tulsa massacre?
Which begs to ask the question, why didn't they? Okay, maybe y'all can't do slavery. And I still think that that's stupid because I think we deserve some type of compensation for either way. But if you can't do slavery because, it's so long ago and it's too many people, that massacre you definitely can take because it was only in the 1920s and you can track there was a censor.
There was a census the year
Thank you.
before.
What did I say? Censure. That's what we need to be. We need to be censored. But there was a census back then, so you could track people's family and bloodline.
Before that happened,
right?
But is it because it wasn't the government that did it? Because it
don't matter.
No. Because reparations is actually compensation from the government because they did something.
Yo, but the state government allowed it, and the federal government never stepped in. Yo, and it wasn't just Tulsa. It wasn't just Tulsa. It was like seven. It was like 7 places that happened all in that same night. We talked about Tulsa because it was like the biggest one, but it wasn't the only one that burned that night.
But in the Watchmen world, they did get the finances, and apparently black people bought businesses, tried to reestablish themselves within the community. I mean, even when they went to watch Black Oklahoma, it was a bunch of Negroes in there. And you open
the
up.
play was only called Oklahoma.
Yo, and
the racists called it Black Oklahoma.
And to me, it was kind of different to see a white dude bumping hip hop, rolling down the street, get nervous, and have to pull over. Because at first I was like, is this gonna be like some white man's burden type vibe, where black people are now in power? Yeah. And not that I wouldn't mind watching that. Not at all. And when the police officer walked up with the yellow mask, I was like, oh, this is something different. And I just wasn't prepared for where all of that played out with the police. Coppa, what was it? Dopa. Yeah, you know how they were trying to protect policemen and how it was only done in Tulsa, Oklahoma because of
white knight.
Yeah, and Regina King as Sister.
Oh my God, Sister Knight. I'm gonna cosplay her.
Yes.
We done already. All 4 of us have already talked about it.
Yeah, I'm being Brother Knight. Forget that. Gender swap.
We gonna have a whole army of Sister Knights. Let's go.
But now,
army of Sister Knight. Yes.
Exactly.
But now,
I'm putting an afro underneath my hood.
Did y'all watch the original Watchmen movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you read the original novel?
I've read some of it.
Not all of it.
I read the graphic novel and watched the movie. In the movie, Ozymandias.
You finally said it right. You've been fucking this up all weekend.
But all weekend he wasn't.
All weekend it
Osmodo, he was old Ozzy.
Right.
But now, Ozymandias in the movie, he did not use the large interdimensional squid to destroy. Well, now, mind you, were you upset that it didn't follow the movie?
No. Not at all.
Okay. So tell me why. What did you like about this in comparison to the movie?
Because I felt as though it felt more realistic in a way. Like what happened and then like the follow through. In the movie they used like an atomic bomb. Like the way that they played it out, how he had to keep up the ruse to keep people afraid so that they wouldn't be turning on each other and fighting, trying to keep the peace. I don't think it would have worked after nuclear winter. Like, what were you supposed to do? Just
drop little bombs,
right?
On
drop
certain
ash
places?
On places randomly. It didn't work. It wouldn't have worked. And I liked that it went back. It veered more towards the original source material because it also made it. Because, like I said, it felt more authentic in a way versus what they did with the movie. And then, like, because they cut the source material up so much. I felt like there wouldn't have been enough exposition to go back to, like, because I had to look things up.
Yeah, and honestly,
I watched it with Addison.
There's actually files. There's what are they called? The PD files. Yeah, and you can go on because the FBI agent that accompanied what's her name?
Lori Blake.
Just say
Suspect, yeah. Right.
She has 2 names. Blake is the fake name.
Yeah.
But when he kept the investigation going, and something that I'm kind of pissed off about that they didn't address by the end of the season finale. We don't know who Lube Man is. Now, is it definitive?
It was Petey.
Because in his file, he has a whole thing about he bought gallons of canola oil. He bought gallons of canola oil, and he doesn't know what to do with the rest of it. Because now Silk Spectre got onto him. In the actual file,
Right.
It said he's like,
but it's still speculative.
I think no. He's like, I think Lori's got me. I need to do something with all this damn canola oil.
Now, see, I appreciate that because that reference in the show would make you have to. You would only know that answer if you went off site. And I like when they integrate different media works. Lost did something similar where you had to go on the Lost website and look up different things that played into the show. Walking Dead used to do that. The Walking Dead used to have whole mini clips.
WATCHMEN did the original comic.
Yeah, exactly. Because I thought at some point they were going to do the pirate again, like tell a whole nother story. What?
Well, Pirate Jenny was different.
But in between every issue of Watchmen was.
Give him the mic. he said, forget this.
I gotta come up.
It's all right. Just talking to the mic.
Hey guys, it's Average Joe here. I didn't think I was gonna get to chime in on this discussion, but I couldn't help myself. All right, the original Watchmen comic would interweave like 3 or 4 stories through every issue, and echo themes like that. And in between every issue was supplementary material, like an interview with Ozymandias in a magazine, or a piece on the original Hooded Justice,
right?
And extra stuff that contributed to the story without being part of the main story.
With the
American Hero story in the show, with the PD files.
Right.
There's a couple other examples.
Like even Luke guy is like a sidebar. It's a slight detraction from the main storyline.
They build a world. And you get to see the part of it that relates to the main story, but there's a lot more they could do if they decided to, which I don't know if that should happen or not. But
okay. Let me ask y'all. Let me ask the group. Do you want a season 2?
Yes.
So there's a rumor going around that it's not going to be this storyline.
And that's what I was saying. Like for this storyline, we don't necessarily need another season. Like, to be fair, like the guy said, there is a clear beginning, middle, and end. Like,
right.
All right. So, like, once Angela eats the egg, like, we got the end. We got our piece.
Right.
But if they did do another storyline, like, there's more you can do. Like, where is, Ow guy?
He's in jail.
Right.
He's in jail.
Well, we
right.
But
exactly.
see, and I'm with Alexa 100% because the best part about this, and I've heard it multiple times, but I'm so excited to be able to say this. When you have a world like what HBO did with The Watchmen, you do not need a consistent storyline that repeats from the previous. You can do fresh new material and just do the exact same. You could just reference back. You could literally have a Mrs. Manhattan, and they mention her from across the country because this was set in Oklahoma, which I thought was kind of weird. New Jersey, New York, Oklahoma seemed to be the main 3 things, and Vietnam. In Vietnam, where it seemed to be the main four places that they spoke about. Yeah. And honestly, what I appreciate about this director was he never had to even integrate Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, or anything like that. Ironically, the one thing that The Watchmen, the graphic novel, never touched on was racism. It dealt with LGBTQ issues. It dealt with political, social, economic, all of that. Even mental. Look, because Rorschach was a whole nut job. Never touched on race. And what you said?
A little.
How so?
With the Minutemen.
That's the whole reason why, like, they in the actual comic there was a lot of like shit between like the comedian and shit that he was doing because he was racist as hell, he was sexist, he was a rapist.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase.
And he always called Hood Injustice, and he kept messing with Hood Injustice.
Racism
saying,
against
I know
black
you got a
people.
soul back there behind that hood. He's like, yo, say it again, I'm gonna bust your ass. He's like, I'm just kidding, and then Hood Injustice went to go swing at him. Like,
But I'm talking
always
about.
been a thing between them.
It's one thing to have the comedian was a dick.
Yeah, the comedian was like a massive
like-
show. Yeah, he was a massive
I'm
show.
just saying,
The comedian was racist, but not racism like that.
right?
Well, yeah, well, not in the world. In the world, because
and that's
yeah,
exactly
because of
what
yeah.
I'm trying to say. It didn't address it as a whole. It did, of
Correct.
course. I mean, because the comedian literally enjoyed killing the Viet Cong because they were Asian. Like,
So basically, like the whole reason why he did what he did is why they touched back to it then when she said, "So why did you do what you did?" He said, "I saw something worse, so I had to correct it." And that was only one of two times where he actually corrected something, because most of the time he can see everything, but he can't react to it.
well, even then,
when he saw a comedian doing his thing, he's like, "Okay, I got to get rid of him."
In the show, he says,
Yes.
Hey, why would you do something you knew you would regret?
Right.
He was like, and he says, "Hey, look, haven't you ever done something?" So he knew. It wasn't like
Right.
it wasn't like he was correcting it in the graphic novel. It's not like he was correcting it because he felt he made a mistake.
No.
He was correcting it because it was his sense of morality.
And also, what he saw was probably going to be worse than what he did if he acted. Because if he didn't stop the comedian from doing that, it probably would have been worse things that the comedian would have done.
And first of all, the comedian. Let's not forget, comedian was a whole rapist. Like,
Well, yeah. No, and in the show he was like, I stepped in because I stepped into the role people wanted
me to do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's and that in and of itself builds its own new metaphor, because I thought that the Manhattan booths was there was a lot of anti-Christian, anti-God themes interwoven in this, because remember, Manhattan says flat out, heaven ain't real.
Right.
You started from nothing, you went back to nothing. That's deep. And then everybody who engaged in prayer of sorts was praying to who? Manhattan, the God of the world, right? But they were going into phone booths, and was Manhattan there? No. He was never. Hey, listen,
They thought he was.
He's not even listening, and that was, to me, that is now you're interweaving a bigger message. Now, whether you agree with that message or not, that's really bold to put into there.
So, but I felt like that was such a poignant statement to make, because what happens when we view atrocity? Oh, sending thoughts and prayers. Your thoughts and prayers don't do shit. You need
I put it like this. No, because you're tough. Don't put your. How do I say this as a person who actually does believe in God?
That's not to say that I don't. That's not to say that I don't. Faith without works is dead. Get off your ass and actually do something to make this world a better place.
All right, now, and I think that's what and that's why when we're talking about Dr. Manhattan, remember, what did Will Reeves say at the end of it? You know, he could have really did a better job.
Yeah.
Like, that's deep, because what the director, what I took from it was, he was showing the inactivity of that God. Dr. Manhattan was supposed to be like their God.
But he was like also a friend to him. I mean, he rolled with him. You know, he rolled with him. He knew him, so he knew what was going on.
But the point I'm trying to say is, what it sounded like he was trying to say is what you just said. Stop relying on somebody else to correct the problems that you see. All of this, I mean, even the fact that the main protagonist, Sister Knight, who is she dressed up as?
A nun.
But she's a nun. She's not a nun in prayers and thoughts. She's a whole.
Killer
She's a nun, as in I'm gonna take you to meet your maker.
So that's why I'm saying.
But it was a hero that she looked up to as a child. Like that's what she saw. That was her Bass Reeves. The same as Grandpa. Right. Her Bass Reeves was this chick who came in, kicked ass, and took things. She's like, I want to be that person.
Which is cool. Which is cool, because when you have people of color inspiring other people of color. Remember, the dope thing was that race played a large role in all of this.
Yes.
But when have you ever seen people of color in superhero comics inspiring other black superheroes to the point where when I found out Hooded Justice was gay, I was like, oh.
In the Watchmen movie, comedian cracked that gay joke, and then Hooded was like, "You son of a bitch!" And I was like, "Well," but the biggest lie was he was white, and the whole time we were like, "Oh snap, he wasn't white."
Right, and
hold up.
Now, look, we know the black community. Look, I'm just keeping it a bean. Did that change how you felt about Watchmen then? No, genuinely. When you found out that Hooded Justice, he was like, "Oh, now you want to give up the mic." He wants to give up the mic for that. No, genuinely. I mean, I'm keeping it 100 because here's.
Even more so now.
I don't. Okay, so I had this conversation with somebody. I don't like when black men are represented as LGBTQ. It's typically at the expense of their significant other. It's never
usually on the down low.
Right, and that feeds into a stereotypical narrative.
The beard.
Exactly, because guess what? His wife was supportive. She was a rider. She had his child. She went as far to not only keep his secret, but support his secret. To the point where the bull came in and sat down and was like, "Hey, we want to recruit you." "Oh, no, I'm not leaving the room, boo-boo. Yeah. We all going to sit down and go." To me, that's a dope. That's a dope thing to have when you have a woman who supports you like that. And I thought that was dope imagery. And then it all comes crashing down because of his indiscretion. Now, I don't have a problem. Look,
it wasn't because he was gay, though. She doesn't leave because she ever finds out he was gay.
She left because of his anger.
Yeah. But my thing is, the infidelity is what I'm talking about. To me, it paints black men as oversexed, hypersexual, and it fits into other black male gay stereotypes. Right. That's all I'm saying. Like if he was gonna be a part of the LGBTQ community, then just
don't get married.
Or have your gay lover. Why did it have to be at the expense?
Because it was like the
30s,
20s,
30s,
yeah,
40s. Yeah, he couldn't exactly be out.
No, and I'm not. But he was hiding it with the white ball. He hit it with the white ball just fine.
So Captain America said one thing: "Black people problems are my problem, bro." He broke that off real quick. Like, oh, really?
Well, see, and I thought that was poignant in and of itself because it doesn't matter. He fit all. He was a superhero. He was his lover. He was his confidant because he left him the money.
Yeah.
But
his money in the house.
Go ahead.
So in the original Watchmen comic, they don't address Hooded Justice as a black man. That's a creation of this show, and they use that. They use that in the main character. It was a black woman. The whole series, the main characters are women. The story in the modern day revolves around 3 women, right? They use Hooded Justice and they use Angela Abar's Regina King's character to just tell a story of black trauma and just trauma in general, and the idea that it can be passed down from generation to generation, and that you can relive some of the same traumas, and our culture is built around it, right? And until some of those begin to heal,
and they touched on that with the looking glass.
Yeah. So it's like the gentleman whose concept was for this show, Damon Lindelof. I'm impressed by this. He's a Jew. Damon Lindelof is a Jewish man, and when he had this idea that I want to do a version of Watchmen that tackles the concept of race and trauma in America, kudos to him for, like, you picked that noob of the week, the showrunner for American Gods, and him stepping his foot and stuff he shouldn't have. Damon Lindelof's whole idea for this show was, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do this by myself. I'm going to get 12 writers. Only 4 of them were white men. The the other 8 were people of color. 6 of them were women. And every episode, he stepped back and got their input because he wanted to tell this story the right way. So what results is like a real metaphor for trauma in America, especially when it comes to African Americans, but in general. And I've seen that theme tackled in other stories. Kurt will be mad at me, but I told him that what the movie Us was about. The whole movie was about that. You missed the metaphor. But anyway, we'll discuss that. We discuss that later. It's very important. You missed that metaphor.
Y'all get off Jordan Peele's pipe. Us sucked. Period.
But Watchmen does it in spades. I mean, they tackle racial violence. They tackle microaggressions and miscommunications and whether or not you're destined to be what your ancestors or predecessors were. Right. Whether you're a result of how you're raised or your genetics.
No direct connection, because the fact that Angela Abar's character becomes a vigilante, she didn't even know where she came from to know.
A police officer first.
Right, a police officer first. And it's.
But she wasn't a vigilante. She was sanctioned by the police.
Well, right, but she's a police-sanctioned vigilante.
Yeah. Remember that moment when Lori Brake steps to her and was like, "How can you tell the difference between a vigilante and a cop?"
But she still hold on. A vigilante. I'm being it's semantics, but a vigilante means they operate outside the law. That the law of the land says that they are sanctioned.
Yo, you ain't see regular cops beat niggas up?
They ran through Nixonville.
She wasn't a vigilante. She was just a bad cop. That's just.
Well, then it's her, Red Scare, Pirate Jenny. Like they were the 3 sanctions. No, and Looking Glass. We're like only 4 people.
But those are the only detectives. No, there was the ball that had the dogs. He was in the room. He had the dog. If they didn't have a yellow mask, those were detectives, because there was also the Hispanic woman who had the
Pirate Jenny.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, Pirate Jenny.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is, obviously, in the ranking order, the regular cops had to wear the yellow mask, and then the detectives and whatnot had to wear
persona.
And remember, the police chief wore no mask.
Right. Yeah. But that's something that they.
Well, that's because he was racist.
But that's the whole thing.
But that's part of it. Just like, I'm gonna protect the force, and his face was the only face out there.
Got you.
But he was the only one who
his whole persona was a mask.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So when they open the door, so when they open that closet door, and you see that Ku Klux Klan guard.
Remember, we were already
same thing as the grandfather. She found out. She became a cop. Someone warned her. She finds out. Oh my God, they're in here. She goes to investigate, just like her grandma. Just like I said, it's the same thing over again. She became a cop. She found out who the racists were. They were part of a bigger thing. She gets bushwhacked.
What I appreciated was the callback of Silver Spectre saying, "Well, I check closets now because my father had a secret compartment, so I check it." Which is a callback from the original graphic novel and movie, because when they go to investigate the comedian's murder, they go into his secret closet and then they find all this information, and that's what ultimately led to her finding out she was the spawn of a rape. But it made perfect sense.
Which they don't say in the show.
Yes, they do.
They say her father sexually assaulted her mother, but never that she was the result of a rape.
You're right.
Yeah, it's now, mind you, the movie is not canon with the show.
Yeah, when she's younger.
No. And mind you, I'm just referencing the previous. All we have of the Watchmen is the original graphic novel, the DVD with the pirate, which was a side story, which was weird, and then the original the movie. This is his next iteration. Now,
because this is 30 years after Watchmen.
Right. Exactly. Now, okay, I want to just turn the corner a little bit. How did y'all feel about Ozymandias being super smart and on Europa?
A moon of Jupiter. That makes...
Yo, how did y'all feel about that? Because I thought his story was one of the more interesting ones. Because he left the...
He on some Rick and Morty shit.
Yeah, yo.
Finding out how he even got on your
I think I'm going to have to use that as a caption. He's on some Rick and Morty. Yo, that accurately described his entire storyline. because you never knew exactly what he was doing. Like you saw him. I was like, is he cloning nigga? Like, what is he getting these people
Like, they're
from?
all the same person.
Yo, no, and you don't get hip to that right away.
No,
Like,
you don't find out till what, like episode 7?
Yes.
He's up there in the lake just harvesting babies. Like, what the fuck?
And then even then, I'm like, how they pulling babies out of lakes?
Right.
Who is nutting in these lakes?
It's the lake.
But then who knew?
I was like, is the whole lake amniotic fluid?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
And then we find out Dr. Manhattan. Doctor.
Decides-
Hold on, no, you gotta say it. You gotta say it. Dr. Manhattan. Hey, listen, you thought you was gonna bring up Watchmen? Did you, first of all, did you see what Silver Spectre pulled out when she wanted the Mr. Manhattan? That thing was as big as my
She's
forearm.
carrying around this briefcase. Like, all right, what's in it? Finally.
No. Don, yo, can you hand me that? Don, can you hand me that?
Jesus Christ.
It was bigger. It was bigger than that.
Listen. Let me tell y'all something. So Tef, you went out and got the Dr. Manhattan. Listen, what the sad part is, look, apparently it wasn't too far from the truth, because I was like, is this nigga balls hanging? Oh my God, it's his cock.
That's why he was so bony. You up there knocking up half the plant.
Listen, y'all.
That takes a lot out.
Well, no, it's kind of like what you said. Like the second, like it's like 3 stories. The second story was, of course, her with the prison of racism and blah blah blah. Adrian's was literally his own prison was himself. Like he was his own prison. And Manhattan did the best thing he could. He went, you know what? You can have all the fun you want right here.
Right.
You can do whatever you want right here. No one will care.
They just want somebody to please.
Yeah, and I thought that was deep. That not only
where no one gives a shit about what he did.
Not only did and what I love, I said it early on. I said,
But also sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and then you can chime in. I was just going to say, I was like, wait, he's not in a prison that somebody else put him in. I said, I bet you it's a prison of his own making. I said, I bet you the game warden is somebody that he set up to kind of make it a challenge, because everything to him has to be interesting.
And that's what he said. When as he was leaving Europa, he was just like, he gave him a mask so he would be a worthy adversary.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to find out that no, you weren't.
But did you?
But he made it interesting.
Right.
But wait, did you peep the metaphor behind it? He gave him a what?
A mask.
And what did they all? They just keep referencing back.
Because masks make people cruel.
Come on, man. You see it time and time again. When what was the Russian boy name? Yo, when he had the opportunity to really exact revenge unnecessarily, and even then, Looking Glass and Sister Night was like, "Yo, I don't want no parts of this." Yeah. But that to me that started dealing with the police brutality. Yeah. Like to touch on police brutality within that world.
Real quick, it also hurt for a second, like how ready the dogs were.
Right.
Like at the drop of a hat, they were just on attack mode.
Right. But then, mind you, as far as they knew, their chief got killed. Right. But now, there's so much. I don't know why we chose an hour to unpack all of the season, but yeah, we're definitely over time. But we'll round it out soon. I just wanted the Ku Klux Klan or the Cyclops.
7th Calgary. Yeah.
Beware the Cyclops.
So wait, I just wanted to touch on the thing about Ozymandias. It was something Dr. Manhattan created out of a fantasy to be a paradise, and he was like, "Oh, that sounds dope." And then it's kind of like that. Be careful what you wish for, because it's like, if you get everything that you ever wanted, would it actually be something that you want?
Or would you even appreciate it? Because remember, it's hilarious. He even, I said when we were watching, I was like, wait, tomatoes grow on trees?
Right. Yeah.
So even when he was there, even though it was a parasite condition, he still wasn't happy with what he was provided with. So he started creating things on his own. So he had that terrarium where he was growing things and all kinds of madness. And ultimately, at the end of the day, paradise isn't always what you think. And what you deem to be paradise may not truly be paradise when you experience it. And that in and of itself, the fact that as the smartest man on earth, you still were not satisfied, that's deep. And we were having a conversation on the ride up here. You don't even realize that Ozymandias is there the entire time.
Right.
The entire time. The minute she started building that clock tower, all the way up until they released him.
Oh, yeah.
She been got that.
Because once he steps on the shuttle, and that's when she like spray paints some gold.
No. I figured that was out of time. I was like, this doesn't make sense. I was like, we cannot be watching this in real time.
Right.
It was the same thing where I was like, okay, he's not on Earth either.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when I first peeped that, I was like, okay, this isn't real. This isn't happening here. And then like as it went on, I was like, oh, this isn't happening now.
Right.
Like I was like, this can't be happening now.
And that's like Lost with the time jumps forward, backwards to the side. Go ahead,
I heard
Lossie.
Well, no, I heard an interview with the showrunner. He pulled that twist from Saw 2.
Ah!
Yeah. He said it's one of his favorite twists. So
one of our favorite twists.
I'm gonna spoil Saw 2.
No.
So
Have y'all seen it?
Oh, okay. I won't.
No. You're a hater.
I won't.
It was forever ago.
See why I wanted to fire?
No, hold on. I got it on DVD.
You got for real? I don't want to ruin a movie. I don't want to ruin a movie.
Well, this is great.
You don't want to ruin like a 15-year-old movie.
There are people who haven't seen Usual Suspects or Psycho or Seven. But anyway, there's a twist where the guy finds out that the person he's been looking for the whole movie is in the same room with him the whole time.
Yep.
And Lindelof. No. The first Saw was the key. It was true that he was in there, but they weren't looking for him. It was. But
no, it was the timing lock on the safe, and he kept telling him throughout the whole movie.
You just need to be patient. You need to sit here and talk to me.
And I'm gonna just say this because that brings out nostalgia for me because we're huge Saw fans at the time. What?
Yeah,
we would be. It would be a whole
we
thing.
saw everyone. We see everyone. Like.
That's we broed over that. Really? But that's interesting that you said that because twists like that were indicative throughout the entire. When we found out that her husband was Mr. Manhattan, that's a huge twist because who saw that coming? You knew it was Mr. Manhattan from the.
I told you.
Oh yeah, you did.
I did.
To it too, like.
Oh well, yeah. I have to actually give Tef. I got to give you.
Yeah, like you didn't ask who he was.
Yeah, like.
Tef, I got to give you your props. You definitely sat up there and said when he explained to the kids that there was no heaven, that was very Mr. Manhattan-ish.
Like the logistic way that he broke it down to
Yeah.
him, you already
No,
know.
and the whole like God's not there, he's not listening.
There's no
I was
heaven.
like, I was like, oh, that nigga is right.
But what I didn't expect as the twist was, and everything that killed. This is what happens when you deal with time paradoxes and things of this nature because. They kind of tied it up in the bow at the end. I still wasn't happy with it. That's why I don't think the season finale really put the cherry on top of the whole series. That's why it's not the number one show for me. But I'm explaining why. I'm explaining why. Because you know I'm a big time travel.
He's a racist.
No,
no, but you might not be right.
Maybe. no, because I'm a big time travel nerd. I love time travel movies. Nobody's ever really done it right. With the exception of Frequency and either way, I'm not gonna get into that. My problem was it was a great movie. My problem with that was what came first, the chicken or the egg. And remember, he said, "Oh, they both came at the same time." Well, okay, so let's trail back a bit, and I don't want to lose because there's my mind's running at a million miles an hour because. Yes, but I'm not creating anything, and I don't have the length, but the girth, yes. But but my thing with Dr.
They coming for you.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I definitely would not be mad at them. Just don't have a yellow mask. But with Dr. Manhattan, when they finally wrap up this whole thing, you recognize that they set the thing in motion. She is the reason
why he even killed.
the grandfather even shows up.
Why he started looking, like what brought him there, like what him set him on the path to get there.
And even then, remember, before we even get to the grandfather, Dr. Manhattan is the reason why they were even alerted that he was on Earth. Remember what happened? The dude came in on the White Knight and he through instinct he zapped him to somewhere.
New Mexico.
Zapped him to New Mexico. The boy was like,
if that never happens, if he never gets with her and loses his memory and does that by instinct, remember during that time that he was her husband. It's blocked out. He kept saying, "I don't know what happens in that." But when I come back,
but then Drew was like, "That's not. You should be okay by now." And then he was like,
"But no, he can't. Even after the fact, he can't recall the memories during that time. It was all.
Yes, he can. After the fact, he can.
After she takes it out, he can.
His last words to her. I'm in every moment we were together, all at once.
Except for that one.
No, he
I said what I said.
You're wrong. I don't care what you said.
Exactly.
That turned me on a little bit.
On blast a bunch of times, like you should have been okay by now. What's up with your head? I don't. It's like she said, I'm super smart, but I don't know why he still has this whole memory thing. Like she kept bringing it up. She's like, this is not right. It's not real. But she already knew he was on Manhattan because remember her and Ozzy made the plan to do the whole thing. That's why she bought the property because she wanted Manhattan there, but she needed that property to get it. So she bought the property, put the big thing up. You go, okay, this is the plan.
Yeah, because I guess it was all supposed to be one conduit to be able to steal the whole point of the story is the whole point of everything was to steal Dr. Manhattan's power, and that men should not have the power of a god. Period. I think that
people who seek power are the ones least.
Ooh, I thought that was a dope line that he said, because everything was about the pursuit of power. First, remember, and it was deep when we found out that the Jed, what was it? Jed, it was Judge. Yeah, his wife was in on it. Yeah. And when she said,
that just seems so small potatoes.
Yeah.
Was I not supposed to confess?
Yeah, she said, did I confess too soon?
Listen, she just gave it to you. Yo, when she said that, and I was like, yo, they thought the presidency was too small. Remember, that was their whole point. Because I thought it was deep that the Cyclops actually had the moving pictures that hypnotized the black people and basically built the stigma about it. Reminds me of go ahead.
It's another metaphor.
Right.
I was like pointing them out. Like the idea that media shapes the way we think about ourselves and others. And in that show, figuratively and literally it did, for positive and negative.
And nobody believed it. That's the deep. Nobody believed it, not even the superheroes.
Yeah.
Now and let's get deeper, because you know how I likes to get, buddy. Don't tell nobody. I don't know. I channel Pops. I felt the need to be like.
I feel you.
Even when one of them came to them, it's one thing if you don't believe a citizen. Even when one of the superheroes themselves came to him, but the fact that he was black, he was like, and the most poignant thing he said to them, he was like, "Well, you of all people know how they tear stuff up down in Harlem," and he was like, "Nigga, I will not be getting in your booty cheeks no more." When he shot the ball, the meat packing ball, I couldn't have. I abhor violence, except that point. And he went
leg drop all races. Leg drop all races. With full Hulkamania, just leg drop all races. With full Hulkamania.
Just RKO.
For everybody that's stuck around with us to the 10:30 hour, we about to wrap it up right now. Because yeah.
10:30 hour.
10:30.
Yeah, that sounds. My math is as good as Tom's. I just want to go around the room, and I want to ask everybody: best show of 2019? Yes or no? Just a yes or no. And if you say no, you got to tell me what the other show is.
I'll let you go.
Tef, best show of 2019?
Most satisfying season ending.
Okay, no. I'll tell you. best season, because I don't want to. Because there's other shows. There's other shows that are just in different seasons.
Yeah.
Was this the best season you watched in 2019?
Thus far.
Bold statement with your Christmas hair.
First of all,
that's what you said.
There's no green in it.
Come on.
All right. Well,
green or black.
I'm gonna say yes. This is the best show and I'm only gonna say because
Okay.
All right, look. Y'all
Game
spoiled
of
a
Thrones
lot of
is such a
stuff
letdown.
for me tonight, but that's okay
Uh-huh.
because I'm looking forward to still watching the rest of Watchmen anyway. I just started watching it.
Thank you for being a rider.
A couple, episodes of it. No, I didn't want to. I'm fine. Anyway,
She said I want it.
no.
Thank you.
But yeah, so far I'm loving this. I'm just like this. The writing of it, everything is excellent. Yeah, I mean it's deep.
It's definitely
very
deep.
deep. But it's definitely keeping my attention. So
All right, come on, Lex.
I'm gonna say yeah. Like I already don't watch that much TV, and what I do watch is on like Netflix or whatever streaming site.
Mhm.
But this is definitely the best season of 2019.
All right, Don, what do you think?
Don, do you watch TV?
Don, the people are ready to leave. So yes or no, please.
Don't rush me, nigga. Shit, hold on. No.
Then what is, in your opinion? If you're gonna give me a no, you got to tell me the season that you enjoyed more.
I'm actually enjoying Mandalorian more.
All right, dope. Addison.
Best of the year. It's in competition for best of the decade, and that's just with 9 episodes of television.
And this is my problem with black trauma, because no. And guess what? I'm about to be no better than y'all. I do not think it's the best season I watched of 2019. I do not believe it. I just want to remind you of what came out before I give you my answer. Game of Thrones finale
Not
season.
even the best season of that.
Hold
show.
on. I'm not done. Chernobyl.
Very
So
good.
Chernobyl was very good.
Very good.
Stranger Things season 3.
Not better than Watchmen.
Hold
Not
on.
better than Watchmen.
Hold on. The Mandalorian, which is the #1 show in the country.
Mandalorian over?
No.
So it's not.
But it's still a season. It's still counted.
Today is the last one,
Mind
right?
Hunter.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. I love Mindhunter.
Black Mirror's season. Yeah.
Wait, did I watch
2019.
Bandersnatch was amazing.
It was 2019.
Oh, it was. It was early this year.
It was Bandersnatch.
That's all. Said sometimes you got to remind people. Mr. Robot, for a lot of people, felt like that was one of the best. I agree too. And The Walking Dead shouldn't even be mentioned. I'm going to tell you what my favorite season I put it like this. Watchmen is number 2. It's number 2.
To what?
Yeah, too easy. Too easy.
When They See Us.
Oh, I have not watched
That's
it.
not a show.
Yes, no.
No, you know what? I
And
think
it
it's
what is it?
fair.
I didn't say show. I said season.
There are many
But
series.
It was
it's
a,
not. No, but it's not a season. It's a mini series. It's a one.
it's
shot.
a 6
There's
episode.
No, but there's not. Gonna
I
be
said
more of
what I
it.
said
It doesn't count.
because if they never bring out the Watchmen again, it now became a miniseries.
You're right. You're right.
Thank you,
And
Addison.
and
I appreciate you
you're right.
because
You can
Tef be
compare
trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's how I gotta deal. That's how I gotta deal with her. That's what.
Shit up
Listen.
so that he's right.
See,
You
unfortunately,
want to talk about black
listen.
drama when they
See, right, and that's why I just didn't
Like,
see. That's the problem because she didn't listen. I said I'm gonna be no better. See, when they tighten the braid in the front of the frontal lobe, I'm sorry,
It's all that corn. It's all that corn.
Tap, just loosen this one up. And no, I'm joking. Don't be like that. Listen, I ain't interrupt. No, all I want to say is When They See Us is no better because once again, it's my favorite because as a black man, representation, exposing our trauma, and showing the world that the picture that they try to paint. So
that we're not the fuck crazy.
That's all I'm saying.
And maybe we're not the problem.
Because so many people,
that.
like, just to call back to our noob of the week. No. because somebody came at me. No, because somebody came at me and said, well, just because he has a MAGA hat, he's wrong. And I'm no, he's not. But the problem is,
You already said just because that's your like
your political
point of view doesn't mean that that's like you don't have to be racist. Right.
But the problem is with that hat, what that hat represents as a whole is not consistent. Well, it's too consistent with the same people who oppressed our people, and that's what it might not be the same message, but man, it looked real familiar. Because let me tell you something, when they see us in that first episode of Watchmen, gave me the exact same gut-wrenching feeling. Now, the only thing I didn't agree with that y'all all talked about, and we're going to close out on this, and I just want to know why. Why the heck did y'all cry? I didn't cry on that last episode. Was it because Dr. Manhattan died?
I didn't cry for Dr. Manhattan.
All right, what was you crying for?
The trauma piece.
Oh, okay. All right, then I understand that. What about you, Tev? You said you was bawling like a baby and that you was slobbering all on your braids. No, you said you had snot bubbles.
The person who cried her when they see it.
Oh yeah, like a baby.
Who doesn't have children but was in there boo-hooing?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I got no problem saying that. I cried like somebody took the last piece of cake. I lie to you not. I was a mess. Real men cry, ladies. Tev, why'd you cry?
It was more like I didn't cry. I like teared up. I had like that one Denzel tear. It was more like the
from Glory, Black Trauma.
No, it was more like the emotional like release of all the tension I felt inside. Kind of like that, oh god, it was like it's weird because like when you're breastfeeding, you have like this letdown where the milk starts to come out. It was like that. It was like everything I was holding inside just
came out your breast.
Everything's my boobs. All my feelings just came out of my breast.
And on that note, she cried for her titties. We are the head nerds in charge. We love titties.
It always comes down to titties.
Yo, no matter how much we talk about black trauma or nothing, at the end of the day, titties. We will never be able to be on anybody's network. We're never going to get paid for this, ever. Listen, y'all, thank y'all for sticking around for us. If you enjoyed The Watchmen, let us know in the comments. Definitely let us know if you didn't think that it was the #1 season of 2019. If so, tell us your recommendations below. Remember to always like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate you guys. You can support us on our Patreon and at gjapparelstore.com. Big ups to my wonderful hostesses.
Oh, snap.
And Tef, it was so lovely to have you come in today. I wasn't going to be a dick. I wasn't. Tef, I missed you. I misted you.
Do you want me to hit him?
I misted you. I misted you. I just said I misted you. Do you want to give your sign off? So we're getting ready to get up out of here. Oh my God. Fun Size, let them know where they can follow you.
Hey, bye, guys.
What the?
It's been a long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day. She was like, hi.
Bye.
Good night.
It's your boy.
You can find your girl Fun Size, aka Luna1026, on Instagram as Luna1026__. Facebook, I am Alexa. Luna1026 was taken by a child who doesn't even need to be on Instagram. I have feelings about this.
Are you harassing that child?
I think we should.
You said they can't imagine.
I got a yellow mask.
Bullying a child for their Instagram handle.
You are
Respect elders. Exactly. Give it up. It's mine.
I'm okay with that. Foxy Roxy, could you let them know?
Yeah. Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at FoxyRoxy24. And you can also find me on Facebook as Roxy and Whitney 24. There you go.
Roxy, do you have anything coming up model-wise? Any events?
As of now, possibly going to be walking in Philly Fashion Week in February.
Hey.
That's lit.
And possibly. So I'll keep you posted. If that changes, then you guys will first know. I got a photo shoot next month. And other than that, that's basically it.
And well, guys, just to let y'all know, y'all gonna see much more of Fun Size and Foxy Roxy on the show. They're super dope, and they always answer the call whenever a brother is needed. Sassy, we know you at home resting. We much love to you, mama. Yokai Sassy on all social media platforms, and I'm pretty sure she's somewhere getting choked and loving it.
Wow.
No, we don't kink shame here. We're all good with it. She's gonna cuss me out when she sees that.
Yeah.
She might do it right now.
Tef, have you finally prepared your dissertation for the end?
Oh my goodness. What's up, guys? Your Mocha Mermaid here. Follow me at Teffy Wonder on Instagram and Teffy Wonder the Mocha Mermaid on Facebook. I don't have anything coming up right this second, but we are working on stuff.
All right. Well, much love to my man Z. My man.
I'm writing it all down. Air writing that shit like, damn.
Much love to my man Z, Average Joe, and of course Don the Magic Wand. Big ups to Foxy Roxy and Lexi for coming through and rocking us on the show. And a special shout out to Tef's Titty Tears. I'm King Kurt Live. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday, 8 to 10 p.m. As always, let's get ready to go to McDonald's.
Hold on.
Hey, let's go to McDonald's. Come on, man. Be a goof, McDonald's.